Hello. Let us get Library Mouse Linz on. Uh,
Hi.
Hello. Hi, the far back room. Okay, I can't move. Yay.
I'm
How are
currently
you?
on the floor.
Uh, I was debating whether I should stand or sit. I decided to stand.
No, I'm for sure sitting.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I don't have a physical book that we're going to talk about, but I did buy this thinking it was the first and the manga. It's not. So,
What volume is that?
it is the first volume, but it's the school briefs. So
Ah,
it's like words.
well, I brought a manga today, and
Ooh,
one of the real ones that you actually have to read, like, this way.
left, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a gift. We'll talk about it later, but
Okay.
let's get started. It's lovely having you on the Real Bookworms of
Thank you.
Instagram.
I'm excited to be here.
I'm so grateful that you have volunteered. So let's begin. Tell us a little about why you decided to start a public review book account.
It's like the one thing I have in common with the outside world people is reading. I feel like, introverts, that's the one thing. Because everybody likes to read. And also, there was an arc I wanted, and they didn't like my personal Instagram enough to give it to me. So, also,
Fair.
like, I needed to find the other bookworms.
Fair. What about your name? I really liked your name when I because sometimes we add people and we
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
stop to read their handle.
hmm
So I saw your handle, like when I stopped to read it, I was like, this is a cool handle. So tell us about the handle choice.
So I think I saw it on a meme or something that like that's what you can call like a bookworm in another country. And I don't like bugs, but I do like mice. And I was like, oh,
Okay.
library mouse, like that's cute. It's like library. Because I'm not gonna be a worm.
I see now. I see what
Yeah,
you did there. I see. So the real library mice of
yeah.
Instagram.
Because
They're just
it's cuter to be a mouse, I feel like.
than a worm.
Yeah,
That's that's that that's fair. So
yeah.
I love it. Okay, so continuing.
Yes.
What are so you mentioned that you find that you have a lot in common with persons here on Booksta.
Yeah.
What specifically do you like about the community, about the Bookstagram community?
We all come together to like accept that fictional men are better than real ones. Oh no, I'm just kidding. Well, yeah, there's that. And also, I feel like we all have like a common mindset. It's just a very open community. Like you can like what you like and it's like it's okay, you know.
That's
Unless you like Addie LaRue. That's not okay.
we'll get there. We'll get there. But
Yeah.
before we get okay. And what what made you or what do you like about reading? Like what made you get so much into reading?
I started reading when I was in high school and I think it was just the fact that you can like escape into the world of the book. Um, you can totally like transport yourself to the world, and you can add yourself to the story after you've read it. You know,
I
it's
also
really good.
I also like being able to share that part
Yeah,
with other people. Like, oh, if I were in the book, I would be this character and I see you as that character. and you can like have a whole conversation about what
it's really like inspiring. Like it inspires you to do like either writing. It really makes you kind of creative. And you can find common interests with other people who like to read that maybe you wouldn't have common interest otherwise.
True. One of the things that I found also, like, for me, is that the worlds that I see, like whenever I read, it's like you're picking up a new world.
Yeah.
You know, and you're entering this brand new world. And
absolutely.
I can see it so vividly that it reaches to the point where people get upset with me. People that know me, they're like, why are you so emotional? And I'm like, because it was not supposed to go down this path. We all know that this is where
you get attached to the characters. You do. And you like really, you really be like, love them.
Yes. Except when you don't. And it's
for sure.
And it's painful because sometimes you want to, because, you know, maybe the writing is good, but the story doesn't engage you as a human being, you know?
As long as it's not the main character. Like, if I'm hating the main character, I'm like, you know.
Okay, so Encanto Textile is saying, which is why they can't read sad endings.
Okay. Yeah, I need happy endings too, because it's kind of like you do read, you know, to get out of the real world. So when the ending is sad, you're like,
you've defeated the purpose, author.
Yeah.
You've defeated the purpose.
Like, yeah, this is not, you know, I need this for therapy.
Fair. I find though that like I don't mind hating a main character if there are other characters around that I like. So,
but if you're reading from their perspective,
oh no, get me up. Especially first person. I made terrible decisions over and over again for 400 pages.
Grishaverse. No, I'm just messing.
Okay, so They Do Not Move said that when they were reading American Psycho, they did not like him and nearly quit several times. Yeah, it happens. The movie, though, has Christian Bale, and I love Christian Bale.
I don't know who that is.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know much about movies and actors. I only know fictional men.
Let's move on to the next question.
I feel so exposed right now.
Yes, you see, Encanto Textile knows he's Batman. He was like the Batman before. The one that like made the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Never mind. Anyway, moving right along. So, I have all of these wonderful little questions that we're going to go through.
Perfect.
We'll take our time. So, I want us, before we go into some of the meatier things.
Okay.
Meatier things. What are your top 5 fave books?
Okay, well, obviously number 1 is the Folk of the Air series. With Wicked King being my first favorite. Also the Iron Fae. I just love the fairies, you know. Fae men. They're the best. Snow Like Ashes. And an indie book, A Spectacle of Souls. So it's like kind of like circus fantasy. It's really good. And then also,
is it better than Caraval?
It's different than Caraval. You know, honestly, I gotta say with Caraval, I really only liked the first book a lot because the second one is like from the sister's perspective, and I didn't really connect with her. And it's just like she's just like this bad girl, like, ooh, that's her thing. She's the bad girl, and you're like, okay.
I see.
Yeah.
I didn't connect with anyone. Proceed. You were saying it's different from Caraval.
It's different than Caraval. It does need a little bit of work, but the author is working with an editor and she's rewriting it. So I think it's going to be really good, the new version. I already like the original. And then also, of course, the Attack on Titan manga, specifically Levi's No Regrets, you know. Mm-hmm.
So we're here.
We're
Let's
here.
let's discuss some manga. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what are you reading? Who are your
Um,
favorite characters? And why should more people read manga?
because if you're not reading manga, what are you doing? No, I'm just you know, I honestly did not used to like manga,
Okay.
and I was reading it to understand the show better, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a real book because I never really considered manga like a real book.
It is real.
Um, but the story is so good. It's so like there's so much to it, and it's like it's just as good as reading like a regular like novel. You know, you know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, and you know, you really get attached to the characters, and then there's the anime too. So you get like you don't just get the manga, you get the anime. And my favorite character is of course Levi. Yeah. hmm Um, there needs to be more Levi's in the world. Um,
Hopefully, the more Levi's come without the Titans. You know,
yeah, of course, and like without the trauma.
without the
Um,
trauma.
yeah, you know, like maybe he could be a little bit more emotionally giving. Um, you know. Um, but yeah, no, I think manga. I think you just have to find the right one. It just like
I
reading.
agree. I agree.
And you have to find your genre because the thing is for me, like with books, I really like fantasy, that kind of stuff. Sometimes sci-fi, YA, but with manga, I really like the action, which normally I don't like in books.
Okay.
So I think it's like important when trying manga to try what you normally wouldn't like. Mhm.
That's that's interesting. That's interesting. One of the things I want to touch on, you said that, you know, you came to realize that reading manga is like reading an actual book,
Yeah.
right? Like, It's
hmm
it's sim- it's it's
It is.
it's
Yeah.
reading a book. And I I think that's important because one of the things that I find maybe sort of like the whole audiobook issue that people have where they're like, if you
Yeah.
are reading, if you are listening to audiobooks, are you really reading? Blah blah blah. You know, I feel that with mangas there's also like this sort of
There is. I know what you're saying, and I agree. It's almost like there's like a competition of like what makes you a real reader and what doesn't. Almost like with if you're reading so many like books, like you're more of a reader. I totally agree. It's just a different type of book.
yeah, yeah,
The stories are just as good, if not better,
if not better.
if
If not
not
better.
better.
If not, and that honestly that's the thing I love about manga because I feel that with mangas the authors go further, you know,
There's
they
so much depth.
yes,
And you can't
yes,
even get it in the anime. There's so much and there's always
yes,
like some hidden meaning, you know, like
yes, yes.
it's crazy. It's so well thought out. And you don't get that in like every book.
No you don't. So
hmm
this one, right, that I got
Okay.
randomly by
Yes.
what is it, bookstagrammers.com.
hmm
So I saw it, I was like, okay, let me read it, you know, I've never seen it before.
hmm
And dude, this was like 5 out of 5. It
Yeah.
was so good. The
Well,
story, again, you're looking fine. It's fantasy though, but
hmm
it's fantasy. But this character is on who's Fiorin is on this exploration. She's trying to understand how it is that she can spend more time with humans,
hmm
considering that they die so quickly. You know, so
Yeah.
there is that whole depth of, you know, what is it that I didn't do while they were alive? Because she's an elf. Okay, she's an elf.
Yeah.
So
So she
what is
lives
it that?
forever.
Yeah, yeah. So she lives a very long time. What is it
hmm
that we could have done together? What are some of the things that I missed that I can't get back? So it's like this whole journey. There's adventure. There's like everything going on, as you mentioned. Excellent. Loved
Well,
it.
and I remember you telling me about your review of this book, and I was like, I need to get it. And the thing is, manga, it's like it's a black hole. You fall into it,
Yes.
you can't you can't get out.
Yes. So,
Mhm.
just a random side note. Encounter Textile is curious about your t-shirt.
Oh, so it says, what does it say? Judge less, love more. That's what we're all about in Bookstagram.
That's
Everybody
what
here
we're
is
all about.
welcome. I love everybody out there, even
I
if you don't like Levi. Poor
even if
decision.
poor poor choices, just like other poor choices that persons can make in like reading certain books, you know. But
Yeah.
that's your love. That's your love. May not be mine, but so let's go into some of those books. So what are some books that you've read that you had high expectations for and they were not met? And
Addie
why?
LaRue. Um, that book was so painful to read. Honestly, I had a signed copy of it and I had to get it out of my house, so I sold it for a low price. Um, yeah. You know what though? It's like the story starts off like it's gonna like it seems like it's gonna go one way, and you're just reading like, you know, and it like you just leave it completely behind from where it starts and just goes on, and it's like we're just literally going through her life of eating bagels and walking through New York City. Like I lived there, I did that. Like it's okay, I don't need to read about it. Like I just, you know what I mean? And it's like I kept reading and I tried so hard. That was my first DNF ever. I couldn't do it. I really could
Wow.
not. Yeah, I literally I'm like I can't quit, but that one I had to quit because like it was hurting my heart and my spirit. Um they're just like, "Oh, it's so poetic." And I'm like, "Okay, it's a bagel with cream cheese."
What we're not talking directly about Addie now, but since we're on the topic, I have an issue also with books that promise something,
Hmm.
right? Even in the description, it promises something, and then when I start
Yeah.
reading it, we go completely like somewhere else, and not somewhere good. We just
Well, because
get
that's
lost.
where you hook the reader. Like that's where you're getting the reader. You're like, okay, this is the story we're getting you in, but then it's like it's not the same story that you hooked me with, and I don't like this new story, you know. That's why I don't like when books have slow starts. I'm like, I'd rather a slow middle than a slow start.
Okay, okay. I don't particularly like much slow things, period. But
No, oh
okay,
yeah. But
okay.
it's like
One of go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's like a really popular author. I'm probably like setting myself up to, be put on the, be burned like a witch, but um Sarah J.
We will
Maas.
not allow that here.
We will not allow that here. So Sarah J. Maas. So she gets so much hype, but her books I feel like are very mediocre. There's not much plot to them. And they always start out really slow, and it's like to get to the actual story, you have to read like a good 100 pages, and you're like, yeah. And you're like, girl, for what plot even? Where's the plot? You should read some manga.
I I think
Yeah,
we need a shirt. You should read some manga. Like
you should read some
that's what you
manga.
should
I'll
wear.
work on it.
So actually, skipping back to Addie LaRue and then talking about Sarah J. Maas's. I haven't read any of her books.
Thank
Honestly,
goodness for you.
I saw the hype attached and I had to
Hmm.
look at the covers and the
Hmm.
variations of covers because sometimes covers will lie. So I had to
Yeah.
look at those and I'm like, this does not look like the right book for me. But
Yeah.
anyway, so going back to Addie LaRue, I had several issues with Addie LaRue, several issues. But one of
Yeah.
my greatest issues was the fact that this person, okay, if you haven't seen it, sorry, if you haven't read it, I'm so sorry. Here's a spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
So this person, spoiler alert, this person is living for such a long time, and they refuse to take responsibility for their actions, because
Yeah.
everything that happens in the book is their fault. Like, you chose this.
It really is.
You legit
And
said,
she knew what she was
this is
doing.
what I want. This is what I want. And you're upset that you got it? Okay, Encanto Textile is asking for a summary. So can you please give us a summary?
So basically, there's this girl that she's really dumb. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I'm not. There's this girl, and she's basically unhappy with her life and a potential marriage that she's gonna have to, partake in. And she makes a deal with a god who turns out to not be a god, a devil, if you will. And she's cursed to live forever and no one ever remembers her. Um, Something like that.
Something like that. But then,
Yeah, but it's nothing like that. It sounds
but
more
the little
interesting.
sprinkles that upset me, it's like this, right? So when she lived in her village, there was this old woman that was like, do not go around making deals
Oh,
with the
yeah.
spirits. Don't do it. Every time this old woman saw her, she's like, don't do it. And then the woman
She
is
did.
like, even worse, if for some reason you do not do it after 6. Like, when the place starts getting dark, don't do it. Do not do it. So what does Addie do?
She does it.
She does it.
And she's around for all this time and she never gets a personality.
So here's the other thing. So while I was reading, because I did not finish that book either, nah?
Yeah.
While I was reading it, there was a part where on her walk, the walk that she always takes, she passes this old man that is selling his wife's things, right? And she mentions that she stopped to buy this book by Sue somebody, that it's the Alphabet Murders. So I was like, okay, cool, Alphabet Murders. Let me look for these books.
Yeah.
So I got the first one. A is for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I should have known better. I should have known better. I should have known better.
Honestly, I don't like. I try to like block it out of my mind. The only stuff I remember was like there was a ring or something. She had like a ring, and she would steal clothing and stuff. Like, that book was so bad. Like, and I read the ending to make sure I wasn't like missing out, and I wasn't.
So we have Addie LaRue, we have overall Sarah J. Maas, and what's another one?
Another one. You know what? When I was in high school, there was this series that like was really popular, marked The House of Night by PC and Kristen Cass. It wasn't very good, and it was like they tried way too hard to be like cool, like the way that teenagers would talk. So they would say stuff like, I'm trying to think, but it was just like way over exaggerated. It was so bad, and it's like the books kept coming, and you're like, why is this series still a series? Like, why am I, and you don't even want to read it, but you're like, you have to. And that's how I know Addie LaRue was bad, because I finished those books and I couldn't finish. Don't even like waste your time on those series.
Okay, you froze for me. Okay. I see. But as I had mentioned before with my life, on my life with Amrita,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's not like when I pick up a book, it's not even
Mm-hmm.
about the author anymore. Like, the author, thank you, you have done a great job for giving me a book. So when I get to the book, any issues I have, they're with the book,
I totally agree.
and the story.
I do think with some authors though, they have like it's always the same sort of thing. Like with Sarah J. Maas, I feel like her stories, it's always the same. The characters are like, you could pretty much say like in this book, reasoned, is basically this character.
Okay.
Her writing style is the same. It's always that slow build, really slow build. You know,
Sorry.
oh no, yeah.
One of the things that someone who read it said is that they had an issue with the description of the main character being like a deadly assassin at like 16, and they were
Wait, which
like,
one?
Shalamisa? I don't know. I
Oh,
don't know.
I can't. I,
So, okay, let's move. We have a question. Did either one of you girls want to write a book one day? If so, what would it be about? Okay, take this one, Lindsay. Start off. Go ahead.
oh. I do have a book in the process. Um, Definitely enemies to lovers, YA, your typical YA. Um, Basically, um, this like evil like prince is supposed to kill the good princess, and instead of killing her, he falls in love with her. You know, basic YA,
Okay. Okay.
generic.
I am semi working on one too where it's a retelling of Cinderella, but Cinderella is male.
Yeah, and I actually really like that. Like, I know we've talked about it. I really like that
I
idea.
I don't get why it hasn't happened as yet. Like, why can't we have a male Cinderella? Mm?
I feel like we all like especially thanks to Disney, we all kind of like love this idea of like the princesses, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think it's the like princess thing. Like we all like who doesn't love a good Disney
But there could
princess?
still be a princess because at the end of the day, Cinderella,
Yeah, but
Cinderella
you
is a
know,
princess in the beginning.
you know, girls, we love to be the main character.
Anyway, so Cinderella, look out for Cinderella. He's coming.
Definitely look out for it. It's gonna be good. I know it is.
His name will not be Cinderella, but that's beside the point. Look out. Okay, so you mentioned those three and the fact that you didn't understand why they're so popular. But you know, I was having a conversation with someone also, and we were discussing why some books that for us may not have enough plot or may not have enough going on, that they appeal to so many people. And I think one of the things with that is that it's so easy
It's like a mindless
to,
read.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people will tell you, like, even fans will say, like, it's a guilty pleasure. Um, I mean, her characters, you do kind of like get attached to some of them, but it's also like you're not really sure what's happening. And like with me having ADHD, I'm kind of like I'm already confused, and then I'm like more confused, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And like I haven't even picked them up, so I can't even say. But I do find that some level of confusion. I don't mind being like, throw me in there, I'll figure it
Hmm.
out, right? But my husband isn't like that. But for me, throw me in there, I'll figure it out. And one of the books that I read, like I mentioned this in my review, it was a sci-fi. It's called The All-Consuming World. In
I
The
do think I
All-Consuming
remember
World,
seeing that.
I started reading it and I was confused. I was so confused. I was so confused throughout so much of the book, but I loved how confused I was. I was like, thank you. So confusion, I find that confusion can be good if there is a story. If there is something happening, confusion can be good.
And that's the problem. There's no story. There's nothing, nobody, not even the characters. They're not even sure what's happening. So you're like, it's like kind of like you're in the book because you're confused with the characters and just like, so this is happening.
Why are we here?
Well, and the characters too, for me, kind of break it in some ways because they're very like, she has to force who they are on you. Like one of the characters is a feminist. Every page you hear about some feminist thing he did. He told his girlfriend it was her choice. And he tells her this on every page. Just in case you forgot he was a feminist. Yeah.
So, in Canto Text, I would like to know what we're currently reading. Oh, you were the winner. You were the winner of one of our giveaway, right?
She
So
was a giveaway winner.
she was one of our winners. Yay! So she just finished
Mm-hmm.
Pastel Pink by Nikki Minty. So that was fun. Like those, I have the books. I am getting there. I've started Pastel Pink, and again, so you start off in the middle of action with Pastel Pink. So you're just there like running and like getting away, and you're like, why am I running? And then the story continues, and I'm not saying more, but it was nice.
You know, yeah, I also like the beginning too, because you're just kind of like thrown in there, and then also because so right now I'm kind of working on three different reads. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
stressful. But I'm listening to the audiobook, and it's just like once you get past that part two where she's running, and you're into the new place, it's really cool.
It starts to build.
Yeah, it does. And it's like you want to know more about the world and the people.
So Surrender was mentioning that there is a story called The Story of a Spa Girl. Okay, so let's take that. The Story of a Spa Girl. Let's talk about
Mhm.
titles. I don't know if, let me see if she's still on. But let's talk about titles. Do titles pull you in when you pick up a book?
I will, yeah, they can make a difference. I will say titles and covers. Um, Also like the synopsis on the back. But if the title is kind of weird, sometimes I can be hesitant because I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, because I'm like, what is this going to be about? But then sometimes you have like a book that the title has like nothing to do with, yeah, and you're just like, oh, okay.
So They Do Not Move and I were discussing like the whole title conundrum
Hmm.
and whether or not we believe in titles, that like titles are actually giving us things.
Yeah,
What I find, like if you're to compare books and manga, right, their titles, which one do you think has more honest titles? Like when you pick it up, this
books.
is what you will see.
Just books. Because sometimes manga, I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is the title? Like, there's like one something about toilet bound something, and I'm like, I'm not really sure. And I'm just like, it's a little,
Yeah, because like
yeah.
you have like, okay, so for example, this one that was mentioned, the story of this a spa girl. I think I can figure that out. Like
It sounds kind of like a drama to me.
maybe a thriller, mystery, maybe, maybe
It just kind of like strikes me as like some kind of like cheating husband.
thing with the spa girl.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or yeah, somebody I see in the comments. Fruit
Oh,
basket. Like,
fruit
what is,
basket.
I mean, I haven't seen it or read it, but I know it has nothing to do with a basket of fruit.
I think that one is maybe more related to like a basket of goodness. I've also like my sister likes fruit basket, but not my style. I
I
like
think,
fighting.
yeah, I think the difference is, like we were talking earlier with manga in general, there's always a deeper meaning.
Yes.
It's like you said, like it could be a basket of good things. Like it represents something. And I feel like, specifically in like Japanese culture, there's a lot of times where everything has kind of like it's another meaning.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. So,
One of the ones that I find very straightforward. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. That's the title.
yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but
It's so good.
is it really?
It
There's
is.
there's an anime game where they actually make fun of like anime titles, and he's well, like one of the characters is like, I'm reading this new manga called Once Upon a Time I Was in a Time Machine, and it like goes on, and somehow in the end it talks about an avocado. I'm just like, what?
No, but that time I got reincarnated as a slime. That one is like about a person that gets reincarnated as a slime. But there's a lot more, obviously, as we've mentioned,
Yeah.
to the title. So you do have growth. You do have all of these things happening. One Punch Man is another one that I think is accurate, you know.
Attack on Titan is kind of.
Attack on Titan. Yes, it's very much so. It's very much so.
Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer.
Hmm.
But I wonder if for some of them they didn't change the title to make life easier for their international audience. Like when
Yeah,
it's
yeah. Well, and also because the direct translation isn't always like the
yeah,
same.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I agree. I think for the most part it does like have to do with it, but you have to kind of understand the culture and the meanings behind. But it can be strange as like someone who doesn't know the culture or
true, true, true. So let's wrap it up. Yeah. I have a thing with my fingers.
I'm
Okay, so
frozen.
we have another question before we do that. What manga? Oh no, you froze. Okay. What manga do you recommend for
I'm
people?
back.
Okay. What manga do you recommend for people just getting into it or getting into manga? Um, that's the first question. You froze again. Internet. Why? No. Hello? Let me see. Ah, okay. We'll be back. Just hold on, please.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Yay! Okay, great. Okay, so yes, the question was what manga do you recommend for people starting or getting into manga?
Hmm.
Your eyes. You're like,
So for me, what got me into it was Attack on Titan, but that was because it cleared up so much in the show that didn't make sense to me. But I would actually say, you know what, Demon Slayer, now I kind of feel like, because it's an easy manga to get into. There's a lot going on. The story is good, but it's
okay.
also like, it's like a subtle jump into it.
I think also maybe My Hero Academia because there's already like this huge community. Also with Demon Slayer and also with Attack on Titan. But I think Attack on Titan may be a little too
It's too,
intense.
yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
agree. It's
And
too much.
yeah, it may be too much for you. If you want something that's a bit much, go for Attack on Titan. My Hero Academia is nice and it's easy for you to find, and there's a whole community around it. You have a lot of different characters that you can identify with because there's a whole spectrum of characters, so that's interesting. I actually think that if you want to start off with something a little slower but still meaningful, this one is not a bad one. It's called Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Um, it's the pace is it's it encourages you to like consider things. So
Yeah,
it's very nice for that. That time I got reincarnated as a slime.
I'm gonna add that to my
It's also
list.
nice. I like it. I really like it. And then one of my current fave. Okay, I'll shut up after this. My current fave is Mighty Mashita Iruma-kun, which translates to Demon School Iruma. Something like that. Demon School Iruma.
Something like that.
If you Google it, it will show up, okay? Demon School Iruma. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. This little kid gets kidnapped, sent to the demon world, is adopted by one of the head demons, and like has to go to school and survive.
Another good one is Cube Arts. And it's only 3 volumes, so it's you're not like you don't have some big commitment. I find it really enjoyable.
Okay.
They're all
Okay.
out.
Okay. So we've touched on some of our recommendations for mangas. We have touched on some of our views for books that we may not like. So let's finish off by sharing, what are you currently reading?
Cube Arts,
Okay,
Volume 3.
that's
Um,
great.
Audiobook I'm listening to, Pastel Pink. And then I'm reading another book, I can't remember the name. Something about like a dragon. It's about this elf that falls in love with this guy who turns into a dragon, and that's how the dragons work in this book. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. So I am
Yeah.
reading King's Castle. I am reading Pastel Pink. And what else am I reading? I'm reading something else that I can't remember.
A manga.
Oh yeah, but that's ongoing. Like Solo Leveling,
Yeah.
I'm reading Mighty Mashihiru Makun. That's ongoing. I'm reading Jujutsu Kaisen, which is another one if you like action. Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm also yeah. So there's a huge list there. I'm always reading manga, but yeah. I think that's it. I think that's it. Well, thank you so much, Lindsey, for sitting down with us here today. It was a
Thank you
pleasure
for having
having
me.
you.
Yeah,
It
thank
was
you
a
for having
pleasure. It
me.
was a pleasure. Hopefully, we can have a part 2 sometime in the future.
I would love to.
Thank you, everyone who checked in with us today. It was great hosting and having you here. Thank you so much for your questions. We have another live coming up on Thursday with Sam Zamore. He was here, but I think he left. So that should be interesting. We should be talking about dragons on that one. So fun, join. And then next week we have another one. So if you want to be part of the Real Bookworms / Library Mice of Insta, please message me and we can schedule something. Anyway, thank you so much, Lindsey. It's been great talking to you. Nice
Thank
speaking
you for
to
having
you.
me. Yes, of course, of course.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.